Good morning. It's still morning, right? It's morning in California where I live, so there's that. How's everyone doing? Good. Good. My name is Luehmann, as they already said, and I am a Colombian woman. I moved to the US 15 years ago, and I live now in San Diego with 4 children and a partner that's wonderful in the land of the Kumeyaay Tipai Pai. And I am trying my hardest to ensure that we are a people that bring heaven on earth. That's everything that I want to do and everything that I put all of my energy in, even though I have all of the possible issues that you could have with the church. I still believe that we are the people that can bring heaven on earth. We all are. The church, just showing up for one another. Not the church, the corporate place, but the church, the people that care about heaven on earth. So today, I'm just going to get right to it. Today, I want to talk about Jesus. Shocker. And I want to talk about Jesus, but before that, I'm going to talk about just a teacher. So pretend that I'm just talking about a teacher, and this teacher spends all of this time with these people that he's teaching about oppression to, and he's teaching them about seeing the world in a different way and having a prophetic imagination and imagining a world where oppression is not, where oppression ceases to be. And this teacher is walking with them day in and day out, teaching them to stop thinking in the ways that they have been conditioned to think, teaching them to start imagining something that they've been told is not imaginable, teaching them to see the world in ways that they've been told that you cannot see it, teaching them to start acting outside of the hierarchies that exist already. And he's working so hard at teaching his friends that there is another way, that we can imagine another world, that there is this prophetic imagination that we all have access to, that we don't have to keep fitting into the boxes. And he spends all of this time with these people, and then one day they go, we have a question. Actually, they are arguing, but they go, we have a question. And he goes, yeah, totally, like, I'm all for questions. Who's the greatest, though? Like, we need to know who the greatest is. And this teacher, so patient, so much more patient than I am, goes, seriously? We just talked about imagining another way. We've been talking for years about stepping outside of the hierarchies and the expectations of society, about imagining a way that doesn't require greatest. The greatest is the servant. The greatest is the one that is there for those who need them to be. The greatest is the one that is not concerned about greatness. And they go, totally, okay, cool. And this teacher then mentions children, right? And goes, the greatest are the children, the most oppressed amongst us, the ones that are never listened to, the ones that are not concerned with being the greatest. They are the greatest. And he talks about more with them, and we'll get back to that, that's Matthew 18. But then the teacher just, they keep doing things and they keep moving, and sometimes goes on, and then someone comes to the teacher and goes, listen, 2 brothers, we need to know, once we end oppression and the world is different, who do you think is going to be next to you when you're the one that is at the top of the hierarchy? Who do you think is going to sit next to you? Like, who's going to be the one that is like the second and third? We need to know, like, can it be us? We're going to sit to your right and your left. We're going to rule this thing with you. We're going to be at the top of this hierarchy. And he goes, really? We're still on this? We're still wanting to be the greatest? We're still wanting to climb this stupid hierarchy that is the one thing that is oppressing everybody else? You're still so consumed and concerned with wanting to be the greatest after everything I've told you, after you've seen me touch the ones that are untouchable, talk to the ones that nobody likes, talk to the ones that everybody says are the discarded of society. You want me to sit on a pedestal and then you want to be next to me? Really? Okay. Well, that's not how this is going to work. I don't know who's going to sit next. I don't even, there are no, whatever. Whatever. And then, time goes on, and there is going to be a dinner, a last dinner. It's for a celebration. And it's the last time they're going to be together because this teacher, he pissed a lot of people off, a lot of powerful people off. Because when you're inviting people to imagine another way, when you're inviting people to lay down power, when you're inviting people to imagine a world where power is not the thing that we're all searching for and looking for and hoarding desperately to be able to appease our insecurities, well, the powerful get really mad and they want to kill you. So he knows that, and the teacher goes, they're going to kill me. So let's just have dinner. It's our last dinner. It's going to be great, guys. And I've taught you everything. I've taught you everything. I've shown you everything. You got this. Like, you got this. Once I'm gone, you're going to continue this work of ending oppression. You're going to continue this work of doing this just incredible thing that we've been working on together. It's going to be so good. And they go, totally. Like, you're totally right. But honestly, we're still on that thing about greatness and who's going to be the greatest. They are sitting at the table, eating with the teacher after all of these things. And once again, they want to know who the greatest is going to be. And the teacher goes, oh, God, should I not die yet? Like, what the hell? And he goes, no, guys. We are not fighting for greatness here. We're fighting for people. What? Like, what's going on? All of you are so concerned with the greatness that you're not going to realize that once they kill me, because you're consumed with greatness, you're consumed with survival, you're consumed with still grasping for power, you're all going to deny that you were even friends with me. And Peter goes, nah, impossible. I'm the greatest. I would never, because I'm the greatest, right? And may I propose to us all, friends, that we keep playing the same game? We keep playing the game of who's the greatest? Because we are not evangelicals, are we? Because we are affirming, right? And we let queer people talk. And I mean, there is an immigrant woman, a queer immigrant woman who's speaking and closing, and we are so good, right? We're the greatest. We're the greatest, aren't we? Aren't we the greatest? Aren't we playing to be the greatest? We're playing exactly the same game that the disciples kept playing with Jesus. The game of who's the greatest. But see, greatness has nothing to do with power or with being affirming or with letting a woman speak or letting a brown immigrant speak with an accent. Greatness has to do with ensuring safety for all. We know why some people cannot climb the ladder. We know why some people are just hard. Like, we just want everybody to be able to climb the ladder. And we've been talking about, like, how do we remove these obstacles so that people can climb the ladder with us, so that they can play who's the greatest with us, when what we have to do is destroy this damn ladder and actually build a fire with the ladder. Because, see, the ladder is propped up on the bodies of my people. That ladder is propped up on my body sometimes too. The ladder is propped up on the ones that have the least amount of power in the world. So we can keep discussing the stupid ladder and talking about how we can start removing all of these different obstacles down below in the ladder. But the bottom line and the fact remains that at the bottom of the ladder, there are bodies laying against the gravel who can only taste the dirt. It's not about climbing the ladder. It's not about giving accessibility to others to this ladder. I don't want to climb the ladder. And people keep telling me, like, no, Joe, we'll give you opportunities so you can climb the ladder. I'm not here climbing the ladder. I actually don't know why I'm here. I'm not here climbing the ladder. I'm here because this is serious for me. Because theology, for me, is a tool of liberation. Because my people need liberation. Because I cannot stand thinking every day about the fact that I live 25 minutes away from refugees that I visit often who are invisible. Because if they die tomorrow, we won't care. We won't care in the same way that we'll care if the Queen of England dies, right? Because our bodies are disposable. So we can keep playing who's the greatest. And we can inviting people to climb the ladder. And we can keep making room for those who are not all the way down, those that we don't touch or talk about or pretend exist, but those who are right in the middle, the acceptable ones, like me. We can keep saying, like, we'll give you some room to climb the ladder and feel better that we're throwing money and some resources and looking down with pity. Or we can tear down the ladder and we can come down and we can start feeling the pain. Because, see, we're not going to fix oppression. We're not going to end oppression. We're not going to compost supremacy until we are willing to feel the pain of the people. And it's not about acknowledging the pain of the people. I don't care if you can acknowledge my pain. I don't. In fact, it makes me really fucking angry that you can look at me in the face and say, I totally get it. I totally get the pain of being an immigrant. I'm so sorry. I don't care. You're not making me feel better. I want you to lay down your power. That's what we need us all to do. I want me to lay down my power for those who are below me, because there are some in this ladder where we've all been thrown randomly, right? Because it was just like, what color skin did you have when you were born? Well, then you get up here in the ladder. What's your sexual orientation? Oh, okay. Where were you born? America? Okay. Right? It's arbitrary. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. You didn't do anything to deserve your spot in the ladder. Nothing. You didn't do one thing to deserve it. I didn't either. And I have a spot in the ladder. And in the meantime, there are those who continue to taste the gravel. I was talking yesterday about how hell is very real for me. I don't believe in hell as eternal torment, because that makes no sense to me. But hell is very real. And there are a lot of people in this world who live in hell day in and day out, and who have the taste of sulfur in their mouths. They know the smell of sulfur. They have the taste of sulfur in their mouths. And we keep looking at them and saying, I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to theorize here about what it is like to have the smell of sulfur, okay? Instead of telling them, you tell me what you need from me. Tell me what you need from me. Tell me, what do I need to do for you not to have to taste the sulfur anymore? Do you need me to pick you up? Do you need me to lose my power? See, if your theology is just a way to be a part of a club that says you're Christian, and by the way, Christianity might just be an identity of power that we need to lay down. Perhaps we need to consider that. Is it more important to be Christian than to end oppression? Is it more important to protect Christianity and everything that it means? Is it more important to protect the reputation of Jesus, the reputation of this Christian God? Is that more important to all of us than to actually protect the people that are being destroyed, the image bearers of divinity that are being destroyed by systems of oppression that Christianity has propped up and taught us all are part of God's plan? I told you we'd go back to Matthew 18. And we will. See, Jesus says, no, nobody's the greatest, this child is the greatest. And a child is just the person that is the most oppressed in society. And he says later on, woe to the world because of its stumbling blocks, for it is inevitable that stumbling blocks come, but woe for that man through whom the stumbling block comes. If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it from you. It is better for you to enter life crippled or lame, I'm sorry about that, than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be cast into eternal fire. If your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and throw it from you. It is better for you to enter life without 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be cast into the fiery hell. See that you do not despise one of the little ones, for I say to you that their angels in heaven continually see the face of my Father who is in heaven. I was told that I was a stumbling block because I happened to have boobs. And how silly and narrow and ridiculous a reading of an ancient narrative would be that the stumbling block is my boobs. When the stumbling block happens to be our power. When the stumbling block happens to be our privilege. Because that's the thing that we are not willing to cut off and get rid of, isn't it? That's the thing that we are not willing to get rid of. Because we covered our boobs. We did all the things that they told us to do to not be stumbling blocks to all the people that they told us we couldn't be stumbling blocks with. And did the world change? No. I just was abused and oppressed by religious ideologies that made me feel like I wasn't a good person just because of the body that I was asked to embody. What if the stumbling blocks that we have, what if the stumbling blocks that we all have is this desire to continue to grasp for the power that we've been given arbitrarily because we were born into certain spaces or into certain bodies or into certain nationalities? What if that is it? Because we keep playing what's the greatest, because we are not like China, because we are not like, Canada, because we are not like Cuba, but we are Americans. We keep playing who's the greatest instead of saying, perhaps this has to burn. Perhaps the church has to burn too. And perhaps I'm the one that has to burn whiteness. And not keep theorizing about it. And not keep theorizing about what it is to have a world where everybody's welcome. Because we won't have that world until we're willing to come down from that ladder. Come down from that ladder so that the voices of those who continue to taste the sulfur are the voices that we're listening to, because they are the only ones that can lead us to heaven, because they are the ones that have been desiring heaven and needing heaven. The rest of us haven't needed it, right? The more privilege that you have, the more that heaven is just this idea out there. Oh, when I die, I'll go to this wonderful heaven. The more privilege that you have, the more removed you are from suffering. The further away you are from suffering, the more that heaven is just a theory for you. You're just theorizing about it. And how arrogant and painful it is for the rest of us to watch people that have never tasted sulfur theorizing about hell and heaven. What will it look like to be the wild goose? What will it look like to be Christians that really genuinely want to end oppression, not to be the greatest, not to be compared to others that are doing things that are really very harmful. They are doing, listen, all supremacy is just a maladaptive coping mechanism to avoid dealing with our insecurities. That's all it is. All of it. Let's humanize the other above us too for a second. I don't think that the Trumps of this world are bad people. Because I don't believe in bad people. I don't believe in the dualism of bad and good. I don't think white people are bad people. Even though they really work hard at making me think so. I don't think men are bad people. All of us are using systems of oppression that help us to cope with our insecurities, to cope with our trauma, to cope with ancestral trauma that we are not willing to talk about, to cope with the things that we don't want to talk, that we don't want to deal with, to pretend that we are not messed up, to pretend that we are the greatest still. All systems of oppression are, all supremacy is just a maladaptive coping mechanism, no different than drugs or alcohol. We're just all trying to survive these systems of oppression, and holding on tightly to them is just a way of saying, like, I don't want to be down there. But the tighter you hold, the more that those down there are hurting. The only way to end this is to deal with our insecurities and to face exactly who we are, to face the things that you think about me. Because I know for a fact that a lot of you up there are thinking, why is she there and not me? A lot of you are thinking, why is she there? She doesn't even have a book. Why is she there? English is not her first language, Why is she up there? I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. But it matters to you, and you should explore why. Because you're climbing the ladder, aren't you? You're trying to cover up the insecurities because your entire worth is tied to your production. Perhaps your entire worth is tied to being a Christian. Perhaps your entire worth is tied to being the spotlight. Because if you're the spotlight and they are listening to you, clearly you're amazing, right? But the pain is still there underlying. You still don't think you're amazing. You're just asking for supremacy to appease the pain. Well, will you face it for me, please? Because when you face the pain, then you give yourself permission to feel the pain of others. And you stop meeting us with pity and start meeting us as friends that are fighting oppression together. I don't need your pity. Oppressed people don't need your pity. Since I moved to this country, I have experienced more misogyny and xenophobia and racism and queerphobia than anywhere else, especially amongst Christians. Especially amongst Christians. What does it look like then to think about the fact that I don't feel safe amongst you? Not because you did anything to me, but I don't feel safe amongst you because I've been oppressed by some like you. What are you willing to lay down to ensure that anybody that doesn't feel safe amongst you knows that you're indeed safe? Right after Jesus talks about the things that we have to cut off, he talks about the 99, going for the 99. Going for the one and leaving the 99 behind. And the invitation of all of us. The 99 are the safe ones that are here, up top in the ladder. The safe ones. What are we willing to do to go for the ones that are not safe? We can keep talking about this. We can keep theorizing about it. We can keep looking really good, writing all the books and writing all the articles and making all the podcasts about how we understand oppression. We are the good ones. We are not like those evangelicals, right? We are not like Trump people. But aren't we though? We can't keep playing who's the greatest, because who's the greatest is killing my people. The game of who's the greatest is killing my people. And I need you all to feel that pain, even though it's not your reality. I need you to learn to feel the pain of those who can only taste sulfur. And the only way that you can do that is to listen to us. The only way that you can do that is to give yourself permission to consider that perhaps, you don't know how to end oppression at all because you've never had to taste sulfur. I deflect a lot to those who have tasted a type of sulfur that I have not, because we are not going to get out of this alone. We need to know the experiences of everybody. Getting down from that ladder and making sure that the voices of those who have tasted sulfur in some way are the voices that we're leaning into and following will ensure that we actually get to heaven on earth. Because see, once you've tasted sulfur, you never want anybody to taste it too. Never. So we can trust the voices of those whose only experience in the world has been to be down there, face down against the pavement, burning their faces down, and all of us pretending that they are not there at all. And the ladder is just propped up by magic. Anybody that has been there, anybody that has tasted misogyny and racism, anybody that has tasted queerphobia, anybody that has tasted xenophobia, anybody that has had to taste that, we don't want anybody else to taste it. So this fear that people that have privilege have to lose their privilege is unfounded, because we don't want power, we want equality. We don't want any of you to ever have to taste hell, ever. I don't want anybody to ever have to taste hell. I don't want anybody to have to deal with the xenophobia that I have to deal with and the comments of, you speak so well. Yes, no shit. What did you expect? I don't want anybody to have to experience that. I don't want to have anybody have to prove that they are worth listening to. That's my experience every day, all the time. Looked at with suspicion. Every place that I walk into. Can we trust that she's not going to steal something? I see the faces. Can we, why is she here? Why is she here? My invitation is rather simple. This is great. We did a great job. It's great. It's hard work. I can't even imagine. But it cannot be a game of who's the greatest. Because it looks really good. You all did a good job. It really genuinely, I mean that. It's great. But it cannot be about being great. It cannot. It has to be about going back home and getting down that ladder and burning it, because we need the fire. That's what composting supremacy is. What are we going to do with the privilege and power that we have? And how are we going to let it germinate? And how are we going to let it change our communities? My invitation is for you to, you don't get to give yourself a high five for being here. I mean, you can. I'll just look down on you. I'm kidding. I'm serious, though. You can. Do whatever you want. You can put a gold star on your chest. I won't. And if you put a gold star on your chest, I'll be really sad and disappointed, because then this whole thing was a play of who's the greatest. It was a game of who's the greatest. And I'm not playing games. The marginalized, we don't have time to play games. We don't have the time, or we don't have the ability to play games. We're trying to survive here. Theology for me, my relationship with divinity, the reason I am in this place, the reason I'm talking to you, the reason I accepted talking to you, is exclusively because this is very serious for me. Because people are suffering, and people are dying, and people are being unseen, and people are treated as invisibles, and people are treated as though they don't matter at all. And we're treated as commodities and used so that all of us can have certain things and certain comforts, because it's more important for us to be comfortable than for them to be alive. This is not a game for me. I don't care about being the greatest. And I need you all to stop caring too. I need you to learn to feel the pain of those whose sulfur is their everyday reality. If your theology is not making the world heaven on earth, which means a place without oppression, a place without suffering, not without pain. Pain leads us to fix suffering. Pain informs us of what's wrong. Suffering is unaddressed pain. A place without suffering, a place without oppression. If your goal in life, if your theology, if your faith, if your beliefs are not moving you toward heaven on earth, then you're just performing for greatness. Or oppressing. You're just using theology either to justify oppression so that you can continue to hold on to your maladaptive coping mechanism, or you're performing to look the right way, to look like you're the greatest. That's my invitation today. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. That's a lie. It's a lie. I am glad I'm sending you out on a low note. I want you to sit down with considering what the taste of sulfur is and what is it going to cost you. What is it that you want to cut off? What is it that you have to cut off? What eye do you have to gouge? Because if this is a performance, I will not come back. And trust me, the rest of marginalized people here won't either, because we're not playing. We don't have the time to. I don't know how long I've gone or how much time I have, but may we tear the ladder down. I'm not above begging, not for my people, never will be. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Oppression is not fun. It's not something we talk about and theorize about. It's not something that people with privilege get to just chat about and feel so incredible because they understand it so well. People are dying. People have really bad lives. I'm begging you, stop playing who's the greatest. I'm begging you. Thank you.